Hi, so this is my code review for one of my projects I did several months ago for the mobile architecture course that we have taken. My project was to do an inventory app. It's obviously right here. I did the login screen, email, password, login, register. And then when you do log in, it gets stored into a SQLite database. And then, or when you do register, it gets stored, this login information gets stored into a SQLite database. Once you log in, you'll see over here, you'll see an item list. There should be items that you've saved earlier. There should also be edit buttons, like actions. So you'll do like edit, and then you'll go to another page, which will be this one, and you'll edit the name and the quantity, save, delete, all that fun stuff. So let's go back over here, press this, and you'll go to the other page. This down here is the SMS notifications. We were told to add this to our application. I just added a button, and if you go down here, you would just enter your phone number, enable, disable, and we'll look at the code for that later. I personally am not going to touch onto this for this project that I'm going to be adding to like all of this to make all the functionality better. I will not be touching these notifications, so I'm just going to be leaving the screen as it is, and again we'll get back to that later, but I just kind of wanted to like knock that out of the way so we're not worried about that going through the code review. I chose this project mainly because when I finished it, I felt like there was so much more that I could have done or that I wanted to do, and I, as like someone who's going to be into a master's program for data science, and right now I'm doing an internship for a database engineer, it was just common sense that I could do so much more on the data side of this, especially for inventory. And I also felt like this was such a very basic app that if I were to have a client, that I would want something a little bit more usable, I guess, especially looking into this item list. Like there could be a search bar, there could be just more user-friendly, more efficient ways to do that. So yeah, that's my goal. So that's again why I'm also not touching on these notifications. It's there, as far as I know of, it works. I've tested it, all the above, so we're gonna continue just letting that be. Let's get out of these UIs, and just because I said that too, I'm just gonna go straight to these notification code. I think it looks pretty good. I added my sources here of how I've used all of this stuff, where I found it, all of it, the imports for the buttons, edit text, just to connect to that UI. Again, extending on that, your edit buttons, go down here, and then we're identifying the enable, the preferences, the phone number, and then when they pick to create it, again, we're doing our variables here for those preferences. When they, or sorry, down here, when they click to enable it, it'll see if it's empty. They'll say please enter phone number, which is a good error handling. And then down here, if it's not empty, they'll send out a phone number and then enable. And then of course disable, they have a little built-in where you just disable it, or not built-in, it's like a little thing and comes down here. Sorry, that was my bad. When I did do the app, I looked into when you are on your phone and you're scrolling up and down, doing all that fun stuff. I did not like that the systems bar was up top, so I looked into Android Studio right here, as you can see, and it gave me this code to remove that, so it'll just automatically hide it when you scroll up and down. And then it's just throwing those enable and disable functions right here. So I think it's pretty good. The only thing I personally would do, probably do a little bit more error handling here, just making sure that all those variables that are thrown in, all of these that are thrown in, are just the ones that we need, or the ones that are validated and good to go. So let's get out of there, so that I'm not going to do anything with that. Alright, I'm going to go all the way back up here to data. I'm going to go back into, I'm actually going to open up all 6 of these. And I'm going to split screen them. these were literally just copy and pasted, and then I made sure that they had the information that they needed for their respective fields. So I did a DAO, which just connects your Android Studio app to the SQLite database, and then it was just easy from then that point on out because they have so many built-in functions such as these, where I'm on the item over here. There's the entity, so you're looking at the table, primary key, you're throwing the item name in there, and quantity, and then you're just initializing these and then doing your getters and sitters down here. So just pretty basic, pretty straightforward. I personally am going to do a MySQL database. I'm going to use Express framework on the back end, so I'm going to actually do that over in VS Code and then connect it. This is going to stay, however, I'm just going to take these annotations out because they are part of Room, which is the one that I was using to connect to that SQLite. So I need to take those out, possibly replace them with whatever is equal. I haven't done too much research on it, but these need to stay. And same over here. I'm on database login. Same over here. You got your room, your entity. It's the same thing. You're just doing the username, the password, initializing, and then you got your getters and your setters. So same thing over here. Well, only thing I would do here is, where is it? The int. I feel like maybe that could be smaller data type just to save some storage. And I think that's the only thing, because name, username, and password. I think that's the only thing for now. Just for the future, just so I know, maybe I could save us a little bit more memory just doing that. I'll save that. I'm going to go out of these two and then over to the DAO layer. Again, I'm using that room, insert, delete, update, query, all that fun stuff. Again, I just copied and pasted over here and then altered it. So again, I can't use these queries. So all of this is probably just going to be creating those functions for inserting and deleting and updating and all that fun stuff. However, at the moment, these names look pretty good. Get item by name, I think, is pretty straightforward. I could possibly do, you see how it says insert over here and it also says insert over here. I could possibly update names to make it a little bit more straightforward, because these are two different ones that could just a little messy. To be clear, I could do updated names to be clear, so I can do insert. Well, I'm gonna do this because I'm not sure exactly where all of these, and I don't want to mess anything up at the moment, especially this one says get name. Well, login name. I could probably just add item to that. And then update. Same with over here. It looks like this one wasn't used, but that doesn't mean we're not going to use it. So I think that's pretty good for now. This layer, I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen to it. So we'll see. Alright, let's get out of those. Onto the database connection. And we can see that from right here. Import room, database room. This is where we're defining the function to create an instance of that database. And then we're gonna create that instance when we start that database, like entering the information and connecting to it and getting that information, all that fun stuff on the UI. So this is where we'll be like initializing that or creating that function to do that. I am not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure this is either gonna go, or we're just gonna make it a lot simpler. However, let's just look at the code for now and see how it is. In case I need to submit this as it is, we'll just go for it. So room, database room. It says right here is data holder class, memory lids. Look at that. I get my sources right here from Android Studio. Let's go down here and see that database function is built in, so we are going to have to try to do something else about that and creating that instance. And then if we get the instance, if instance is not null, then again, if instance is not null, and then there's nothing else, which is kind of concerning, so I'm going to put else question mark. Is there something else I need to do? Is there something I have to catch? Is there an error to be thrown? Like, what happens if that's not going to work? And then down here, we just call that item DAO to this, I believe, catches all of those. Oh, it's just creating the instance of the item DAO. That's correct. And same thing for over here. I'm 100% sure this is the exact same thing. It's for the login information, so the login database. But again, like, what happens if this doesn't work, or what exactly is going to happen? So let's do it on the inner if as well. So maybe we could do, well, I guess it's looking at if the instance is not null, which I guess it shouldn't be since we're creating it, but alright, that is our database side. Again, it's going to be changed a lot on, or in this project. Cancel, don't do that. I'm not going to look at this. Let's just like knock out this first. Edit item activity, item activity, and the adapter layer. Let's go all the way over here. I really looked quickly through these, so they're all at the bottom. Let's do edit item. So this will just be talking to our UI about editing that item. Let's pull that up again. 100% sure this is it. Yep. So this one. Let's pull this aside. And then, so it's just talking about this stuff. Bundle, button, toast, connect everything. And then we're pulling those files about the item. So from that database, that's exactly what we're pulling from. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure we're going to do these two and then connect from there. I don't think this one's going to stay. It looks like room used for data storage. Let's call files, page features. I like to comment a lot because I forget very easily. And then edit delete items. And my sources right here in case I get confused about why I did something. I'm just going to add a little space there because it was bothering me. And then we're going to create that instance of item, edit, edit, and an existing item. We're initializing that as null. Down here we're going to have our buttons, our edit text quantity, our save, our delete, all right here. Field buttons on page, connect to item edit page because this is the initial connection. Sorry, I skipped that. And then we're going to save that instance on create. Again, this was all of that hide the scroll, the system bars at the top, which I didn't like, so I kind of just added that at the beginning to get it away. And then we're going to go down here and we're going to build on that database instance, which again, this is going to change because we can't use the room for the SQLite anymore. However, we can possibly keep as much things as possible. As I'm changing something. I'm going to try and keep it as much as possible. So this stuff works not pretty well. It works. So I'm not going to change something that's not broken. But let's go down to initializing. We're adding those comments here. And then check for past item name to edit. Oh, so we're doing the if-else statements here, which is nice. And then if I can type and read my comments. It looks good. Maybe, I was about to say maybe see if we could do another error handling, but I think that looks good. And then notifications down here. See all of these strings that are being popped up on the app, which I like too. Again, the int quantity. Change to smaller value, question mark. Update item if exists. So checking if it exists, calling that update if so, else it's adding the new item and inserting it. Add item. So maybe this could be part of like a settings thing on admin. I wonder if I should put that. I'll put it just in case. And put it up here. Should this be user? What would be user option? Question mark. Admin access. Like if someone is in charge of the app, like a manager, inventory manager is in charge of that app, they could turn this on and off because obviously they don't want just random things being added. Let's say someone makes a typo or something. I did work, where did I work? I worked in like some warehouse or something, and it would just be, if it was wrong, you wouldn't be able to update it or put it in or something. So like I can definitely see that as a setting for a manager to have. And then on click, checks if it's null. If it's not, it deletes it. Out here. Right. Onto item activity. Sorry, I'm just checking the time. Calling that UI, so those items. And then just using this bundle that we have. I used a lot here to call on that UI. So recycler, view, layout, manager, controller. Obviously that's what we're going to extend on. And then down here we're calling all of our item floating information SMS. And if we go down here, we'll do the item, recycler view for the UI. Used to switch screens. Oh, well, that's nice to know. And then we're going to go down on create. So the last one, I don't know if I explained it. Oh, I guess I did. The last one was for the edit item, and this one would be for the entire list of items. So if we were to go here, this is for all of this stuff, and we're just connecting that. We're connecting this, using this. Sorry, I should have explained that earlier. And also applying them to the UI item page. So I guess I explained it here, but again, we're just connecting all of that code here. And we're just putting everything together. So we're doing the view, or the instance on create. We're finding that list, finding the ID. So we're just looking, this is looking into that UI and just finding those IDs to know what to point at. Again, a database instance, I'm going to try and keep this as much as possible, but it's definitely going to be different. And again, looking at those item lists. So we could manage them with the crew dots. And again, looking into saying like, hey, this doesn't work, or this does work, this is null, this is not null, and I appreciate that I did do that. My past self, that I'm putting that on there. So now we're looking a little bit farther into the adapter. So we're looking into a new list this is adding all the items. So we're going through that list, item name and quantity. And then we're setting it. Okay, so it's just loading the items. And then down here, I have a typo. Nice to fix. Floating activity for edit. So that would be on the side. Let's go back here. So that would be like down here. So let's say, well, I guess it's not going to work now, but if I had an item there, it would have the edit button right there. So it's pointing at that button and then saying when it's clicked. And then down here, so for the, oh no, sorry, was that the, for edit item? Add item launcher, I'm pretty sure that's what this was. 95% sure. And then down here would be the notification, so it'll be down here. Try not to mess anything up. And then we're loading all the items. So after all that, just making sure all the buttons have their functions and everything. We're just going to show them all the items there. Again, I have that Windows system for things. And then we're defining those load items down here. So we're doing new intent, and then the name, and then the quantity. Retrieves all items. And then retrieves, and then this goes back to, because I think I was having trouble that I would go edit an item, save it, like change a quantity, save it, change the name or something, and it'll come back to the list and it'll just be gone. So I had to do like a refresh of it. It was just like not working. So we're refreshing that list down here. Alright, so after going through all of that, I definitely don't have to worry about this stuff as long as I have some comments saying like what I'm doing here. Let's go down here. Switch. That's good. And again, just looking at like the data types, making sure that there's either try and catches or if else statements. So this is like initializing something and then going through and making that list. So I wonder if there's a way we could like, well, I guess this would be for the UI, so we can't do anything, but if there's any, like, we could throw an error somewhere, something's doing something, so like this says if, but like, what about else? What if something goes wrong and we have nothing to do about, because that's exactly what I think was happening down here, is that I couldn't figure out what was going on. So let's do else, question mark, and I'm putting question marks because I want to do a little bit more research before I just start adding stuff willy-nilly. And again, I'm 95% sure this is all good. This is set because we're just calling it. Yeah, could we do some like error handling here? Let's do this. Error button activities. And let's look at those values actually. Where are they? Here. So I don't think I should be changing any of this. This is to do with like connecting and launching and stuff. So again, I want to just make sure that I'm not using up so much like memory, especially since this is going to be in MySQL. And I do want to implement like a barcode scanner. It's going to be like a lot more, not a lot more intricate, just a little bit with a little bit more memory. And I just want to make sure that I could just save as much as possible. And I think that's just best doing anything nowadays too. So I just want to make sure that I'm not taking up all this stuff. I am also trying to see if there's stuff that I could just like, if this is built in somewhere, that would be really nice. I could just call it besides using all of this code for something else, but at the same time, like this is where the UI is, so this is my float in action button. I'm making sure that this is exactly what I want to do with it. So maybe I could look into that, but And again, like all this Windows stuff, like there's 3 functions of Windows stuff, and can't remember, this hides it immediately. This automatically hides and lets users swipe to reveal them to me. Okay, so that's the swiping. Hides this one. So I wonder what the difference between this and this is. Maybe I can compact it. Do I need 3 Windows functions? Hopefully I know what that means later. Where did I have that? I had it here, didn't I? I don't think I had it over here. So that's just the adapter class. And this was not the UI. Oh, I had it in my... Again, I don't think I'm gonna do that. But okay. I think I'm good for that, hopefully. Let's go to the adapter class. Alright. I got... Am I login active? I'm just gonna bring that up. I'm gonna do left to right. My adapter class. This class is used to create and manipulate a list of items from the database to eventually show in the UI. Is it just calling it? I'm pretty sure. I haven't seen this in a hot second. So get name, quantity, edit button. So it creates a list. It says this is my list. Edit button. This is definitely my list. Interface. Delete. Set item listener. I'm just throwing all those listeners in there on delete. Again, I don't think this is for the item though, so I should be able to change this. I just had it blank because we weren't using it. Add code. I'm just gonna put add code. I'll put it down here because that's a little bit confusing. And then setter for item, click listener. Oh, it's a setter. Maybe if I read things, besides just assuming that things are supposed to be there, it's a setter. Duh. Update item in the adapter, so just updating those items. And then, oh, viewing them down here. So you got a text view button, it's throwing those it's connecting to those UIs, looking at them. Again, the list, the holder, getting them. Set on click listener, making sure they're clickable. And view. And then again here, it's throwing in that UI of what we need. So we could see that, well, it wasn't super visible. Let me see. It will be the item row, item list, the item. It wasn't super visible, but they're kind of there. I don't know if you can see that white. I wonder why it's so white. I thought it was good earlier. I don't know. I'll change that in a moment. I guess that would be a thing to change. I'll put it down here, and then next time I hit it, that's the login. I could just go back, change text color, and you know what, I'm probably just going to do that at the same time, so I'm just going to leave that the one, and then when I go, I'll see that both of them need it. But yeah, so it says item name and item quantity when you go there. But yeah, it's pulling that and putting it there. And then return can show the number of items on a page. I don't know if that was working or not, because we don't have any items. See if working, question mark. So these just make sure all those UIs are functioning and pointing to where they're supposed to go, making sure they're doing what they're supposed to do, such as the item button. We go down here on click and it goes to that edit screen. Update item, so I got my things here. I don't think there's, usually tells me if I'm not using something. Like if I have a variable here, it's like you're not using that. So here I can see item list and it's all showing up. That's showing up. That's coming up. Item, set items. Yeah, I'm definitely using that. Edit item is used for deleting too, so that's nice to know that I did put that in. I did it down here too, just in case. Making sure pointing to the right button. Shows items using, yep. Oh, so that's my row. So this is all going to here. Item, quantity, delete. Brings together page components and item features. And I want to make sure that's working. Okay, so I got that down. There's no memory allocation that I need to look for. It's just looking at that item data item, which shouldn't change. And again, it's only really the back end that should really change a lot. So really trying to make sure this is still good. Alright, last class. Again, I was just being nosy earlier. This would be for, let me just pull it up, my login. And I can actually do, I'll do that. So I'm looking at that UI login, buttons, toast. Again, I'm using that room, so this is going to be a little bit different. And I'm looking at all my files. Why would I need that? Why would I need to look at, oh, because I'm pointing, duh. So I want to log in, I want to go there. And then, so edit text buttons. I'm just defining them so I can point at them later. I'm creating a login instance so that login, so people can put their username and password. I'll be boop right in there. I'm pointing to my login layout, and then like I did up here, just finding where they are, making sure they're defined. Instance of my database. Again, this is gonna all change more than likely. Again, I want to keep it as easy together as possible. I think this is pretty straightforward. Looking for those listeners for the login and register. Again, do I need, what was it? Are 3 Windows functions needed? Figure it out. Got those window functions for the system bar. And then, did I have it up here? I kind of did, and my login database. Down here, make sure that there are 2 logins. So that's nice. And then, again, this is an if statement, but I'm guessing it's if, and then else down here, if else. Okay, so I think we're good. Executor executes database query on background thread. And then instance, get the username, making sure the username and password. Don't know what I'm pressing. There you go. And then I'm just putting that together, making sure that's coming out on the screen with toast. Login successful. Again, the intents, login activity, item activity, if I can talk, and then starting here and then going to that page. So that's what that's for. And then else, if that doesn't work, invalid username or password. Maybe we could do some error handling here, making sure that that works. Handling for page to page. I don't think I needed a question mark, but that's fine. And then here, when user clicks register, system checks if fields are valid, like if it already exists, and then if not, it does it. So defining that username and password, making sure it's like they filled this in before they press register. Go in here, user exists, can't do it. And then if not, they're creating that new log and that new instance up there. And they're doing that insert. So this, again, I think should relatively stay the same because I'm going to do everything else kind of on the background. And then they're printing out saying, hey, you're successful, register. I just changed that. There we go. And then they ask you to, so it kind of just, if it registers, they ask you to log in again. They're not going to be like, oh, you're in. They want to make sure that you know what you did. So I don't like apps that just let me log in. I like to remember what I'm doing. So yeah, that was my app. And I'm going to do a lot on the background. I'm going to try to do MySQL. I'm going to do Node Express because I just did that mean stack for the full stack development course I just took. It's just fresh in my head. I also think it's just a little bit simpler than going back. So I was thinking about probably doing Java because it's Java here, and it would be nice to have it like all over, if that makes sense at all. However, I'm not too comfortable with Java, which I know you're gonna be like, oh, let's keep learning it. I'm more comfortable with what I've just done, which is mean stack. I'm also more comfortable with like Node and Express. Like I've already known that just from doing that, so I'm going to continue with that. But a lot of the UI hopefully will stay the same. The barcode scanner is really the only thing that I want to add to. That's not my person. To here, and might even be their own screen. So I'll see what that does. I did see a lot of Android Studio had a lot of their resources on how to add it. So we'll go from there, and hopefully this code review is good for me to go back and try to just like spruce things up a little bit, as make sure that there's no errors that happen, that and then once I do add my data, I am going to do a lot of security.